Battlefield Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 141 of Battlefield Podcast. I'm your host, Ola, aka Chalk1, alongside Tim, aka Chalk, not Chalk at all, Tim, aka Darkness429. Good morning,
Hey,
Tim. I clearly haven't had enough coffee. So this week, it's been a while since we've done a podcast.
Yes.
Aftermath has come out on the PS3. We're not going to be talking about it in this episode because I've had a chance to play it, but you haven't. And frankly, since I suck on the PS3, I should probably keep my opinions to myself so far. But we'll talk about that in the next episode, more in depth.
Sounds good. Good.
But this episode, we've got Roland Smedberg back from DICE. He's the senior video director. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
How are things over in Sweden today?
It's very dark and it's very cold. It's been snowing and it's starting to look like this Wonderland thing. It's nice.
Nice. So Aftermath just launched. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of your involvement with the trailers and the videos. But we've had you on the podcast in the past, but that video is for other reasons no longer on the internet. I think the audio file's still around. But why don't you tell people that either didn't watch that show or are seeing you here for the first time, what your job at DICE is? What do you do on a regular basis?
Sure. So my name's Roland Smedberg. I'm from Sweden. My mom's from Poland, so I'm half and half. I work at DICE as the senior video director. So I head up a team of 4 video guys. And my responsibility and what we do is that we create trailers, promotional materials, in-game stuff, anything that's video that's moving. So we do that in our little team. And I've been doing that for over 10 years. Wow, that's a long time.
So a lot of people probably recognize the username from the trailers. You're always in there with Noken and some of the other guys on your team. How many people do you work with on these trailers?
So there's 4 of us. So I'm Rolly the Polly, and we always have Benny the Buff. So that's Chris Bennison. He's the video editor from Canada. He joined me 6 years ago, I think, or 7 years ago now. And then we have Noken, that comes from the Battlefield community. He's been doing the stuff under the name of Noken Productions. So he did Mine and Frost, all those cool little stunty films. And then we have one more guy that joined us from QA, and he was actually he did some like a small internship with us, sitting in our game room and being an actor actually, and having me yelling at him all day for 3 weeks. And somehow he thought that was funny, so he's like, so he joined us just 6 months ago or whatever it was. So he's pretty new. And
so I think probably what people most see, you've mentioned before that you don't just do trailers, it's any kind of video whether it's promotional inside of DICE or EA or whatever. But obviously what people see most in the public are the trailers. Obviously most recently the Aftermath launch trailer. How much effort goes into a project like that? I mean, the end result is what? They're usually a minute and a half or so.
Yeah, the magic number will be 145. We broke that in the last trailer. We just want to show some more. I mean, it's such a cool pack. But a minute 45 for some reason is the magic number. And effort, it takes a lot of effort and takes a lot of time. But usually we're pressed for time, so we try to shoot and edit and post-produce and everything on a video in about a week and a half, and that's really stretching it. It can take it should take longer, but we usually don't have the time to do that. So we split up the work. One guy is editing, some other guy will be doing like cinematics in the Frostbite editor. And the third one will be flying around free camera, trying to get some cool views. and we just share the workload as much as we can.
So you say free camera, so there's obviously some angles that the YouTubers, if you will, can't get that you guys have access to, right?
True. So since Battlefield 2, we've had the famous battle recorder, or we used to have, and it evolved to its most epic state in 2142, and that's a very cool tool that was back in the day worked as a built-in tool for everyone. Sorry to say it doesn't work that way anymore. Hopefully it can do that in the future again. I'll fight to get it into the next game, hopefully. But yeah, so that allows us to record a stream. You have a server running, and then everything that happens on the server gets recorded to these small files, which we can play back. And then we have a debug camera. So we just fly around and try to find cool new angles. We can attach cameras to vehicles and make it a little bit smoother than a regular debug camera. And we get some cool stuff from that as well. But it's a bit of a hassle to use, and it's not really intuitive. It's just slapped on there basically for our little purposes. Yeah.
So,
and that's
Roland,
sorry.
No, last time we talked to you, it was during the release of the Armored Kill trailer. But now with Aftermath, we've seen a lot more animation, more character animation. And when we talked about it in Armored Kill, you said that it was really hard to animate characters. You could make them do very simple things like run forward or maybe crouch. But in this trailer, there's a lot of intricate movement, a lot of like crouching and peeking over corners and whatnot. So have you guys learned how to work the Frostbite animator more efficiently?
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. The very first teaser that we did for BF3 actually had that stuff. We didn't really have anything looking that great, so there's a lot of distortion, but we wanted to show some animation, and there's actually used that kind of way to do it, but it's hard, and our team is a bit outside everything, so we have to produce these things quickly, and we don't really get time to experiment. And this time I went on sabbatical for 2 months, as I've been working for so many years, and I just needed to calm down. And only Chris, who's recently become a father, so he was away as well. Only Chris and Nook and Stefan were still at the office, and they had this project, the Aftermath like teaser thing there, and they were thinking of how can we do this without any gameplay, because it wasn't ready to be shown back then. And they went back to that kind of animation thing you can do that. So if in Frostad, using the same tools that the guys working on the game do in-game cinematics, they learned how to add technology that we have is all these cool animations that you can make these characters do. And I was very impressed because I was on vacation and I saw this thing and I was like, oh, this is cool. And another reason for that was, of course, that this pack had the theme was more, even more thematic. This ties into the single player campaign there with the big earthquake, and they wanted to show that these characters are in the middle of that, and they're scruffy looking, and they've been through hell. So I thought that was pretty cool. So going forward, we're going to use that even more. So it's a natural, evolving from the previous just simple animations that we had.
That's a cool progression to see, because when we end up in the last booster pack, that'll definitely be the one to kick the pants off the game. So.
Sorry about that. Never drink water in front of the camera.
So that's probably an interesting challenge, though, that when you guys start lining up trailers for upcoming DLCs, and there's probably things that you're not allowed to show yet, like endgame scheduled for what, March or something like that? How early will you guys start thinking about teasers and trailers and any kind of footage for that game?
well, thinking we can do pretty early. So right now we're just joining playtests and just having a lot of fun with that pack.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what or any details, but we're playtesting it basically every day. And so we have a, as soon as we do something that's cool, that crazy scene of something happening, and we do make a note of that, and then we save that for a future trailer. So it's basically the whole video team joins those playtests with QA and just devs, and we run around and experience what is cool, what's new. So we could say that we start working on it right now, but there's still some time to go.
So for I don't know how much more I want to ask about Endgame, but let's talk about Aftermath again, because at least it's out now. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned the aftershocks, which is kind of the cool feature of Aftermath, of course, in the scavenger mode. So there's a lot of that in the trailer. How much direction do you get? Like, do you get a lot of, you have to show off this because that's going to be one of the selling features, or is it more based on things like you just mentioned, where you're just playing in playtests and you're like, hey, that was really cool, we should put something like that in?
Well, we have direction from different directions. We have, so marketing, of course, wants to market the game and show everything that's cool. The game team has their own idea of what they want to show, and then us, of course, playing it, and we see, oh, this is cool, and this is this should be shown. So it's a mix of all these three directions. What do we want to show? What's the theme? What's the story? But we're pretty. I would say that we're very we do what we want, and then we show this stuff to the producer, Patrick Bach, and then they would say, oh, that's cool, or that's not cool, cut that, and we'll start crying because we really love that shot, and then we show it to marketing, and they send it up the chain, and someone there would say, oh, this is cool, but I don't like that shot, and we cry again, and then back and forth, and until we find the perfect mix of what we can do in that short amount of time as well.
Do you ever look back and see how much stuff ended up on the cutting room floor, so to speak, out of all the hours and hours of footage?
Yeah, you'd be amazed of the epic shots, the epic stunts, and the epic things that happen, and that just, you have to cut them for weird reasons. Sometimes you have this epic shot, and then in the background you have a pink rock. Oh, it wasn't done when we were shooting that scene. And the art director will scream and say, no, you can't show that. You can't possibly show that. But we're like, well, the pink rock is like small, and the epicness is like, it's huge. So it should, I know you have to cut it. Well, sometimes we have to cut it, but sometimes, or most of the time, we'll go in and actually paint on the rock and make it look like it's supposed to look. So remove the little bugs there. Because when we're working on these things, it's never done. It's never finished. I mean, it's finished when it's released. So that's a tough part. But yeah, a lot of stuff there on the cutting room floor.
So what was it like working with Aftermath? Having the new weapon like the X-Bow and trying to feature and highlight that off. It's a lot of things we haven't seen in the Battlefield world yet. So what was that experience like?
Well, the X-Bow, I personally think it's awesome. I can't hit shit, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, how do you show that? The first thing I did with it, running around in the recording session, I shot two guys at once, and I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
That is a good shot. I remember seeing that in the trailer.
Yeah. So that's cool, but it's a different kind of weapon, yeah. I love the fact that you have the 4 different arrows. I usually just use the sniper arrow thing. I can actually hit people with that. But that's why we wanted to incorporate that into the Aftermath launch trailer, that you could shoot the chopper. Because that happened. You shot the guy and he just fell to the ground. Or like, that's kind of cool. Why not show that? You can sit there on a perch somewhere and snipe people. I love it.
Yeah, so sometimes I think people assume that a lot of the stuff you do is things that are staged and that will never happen in a regular game. But it sounds like all of that stuff usually happens naturally. Maybe you reproduce it after for the actual recording, but it's all stuff that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. It's a healthy mix of as close to when we get closer to the game looking finished, we will be able to just record off of playtests. We have 64 plays just running around, duking it out, and we can get some really cool things. But most of the time, we start recording and gathering ideas very early playtest, and then the game doesn't look that great. So yes, we recreate, we stage scenes, but they have some kind of a anchor in the real world. We saw this, we need to show everyone this because it was awesome.
What was your what so far playing Aftermath? What's your favorite moment that you've had, if you can think of one?
Favorite. Well, there was that chopper chase through the big mall thing in the financial district. I thought it was pretty neat. You're just flying around chasing someone, and it goes in there, and you actually make it. And I was like, oh, that was so cool. We need to do that again. And I think it took us 19 takes to actually recreate that moment. Because I would actually just hit everything on the way in and on the way out. So if you look at the shot, I mean, at the very last frame, you can see that front chopper is actually just failing miserably, but you can't really see it, so it's all good.
Did you ever some of the other trailers for other games right now? I noticed that I was watching one the other day, and it was like a 10-minute launch trailer, which was almost more like an introductory video to the game instead of just a teaser showing you what's happening. Do you ever wish you could create longer videos, or do you think that the short 1:45 is the perfect fit?
Well, after 2.5 minutes, you're sort of like run out of steam. You don't really get that powerful, like, I want to play it. If you just keep going, it's like you get served everything on a platter, and I just like to keep people that just cut just when they're like, oh no, and they have to play it again, and then get psyched for it. So, but we used to do longer videos back in the day as well, and especially talking about 2142 again, it's having those great tools back then. You could do like the intro for the game, which also served as the launch trailer, and that is basically it looks like a long tutorial, but it has everything that you can do in the game, but in a very cinematic way. And it's cool to do that, but you have to mix it up.
You think if people in the chat room were saying that having a sort of a deleted scenes video at some point would be awesome to have. Do you think that will ever happen? Or is it too much red tape to go through to get that done?
I would love to do that. We were actually talking about this just the other day, Chris and I, because there's so many things that especially we were actually talking about that chopper chase, because every shot you would hit stuff, and just unexpected things would happen. That would be so much fun to do. I don't know if they would ever allow us to do that, but I'd love to do that.
So you've made trailers. You mentioned Battlefield 2142. What was the first Battlefield game that you started on?
Actually, the first Battlefield game was 1942. So I had only done one project before that at DICE. That was for Rally Sport Challenge for the original Xbox. And I guess giving you sort of a background on that, I went to school, and in high school I studied natural sciences, or whatever it's called in English. It basically means a lot of math and physics and biology and all the stuff I really suck at. So I didn't really know. That's like, my parents said, it's good, do that. You'll have a nice, ground
right,
to
you'll
stand
be a
on.
doctor.
Yeah. God sakes, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a pool man. Anyway, so what I was doing is, and before that as well, was every time I had this presentation or something for, stand in front of class and talk about something, I would rather just do a little video or a long video, because that would, first of all, I won't have to stand in front of class, and then it would give me straight A's. So I actually used that a lot in school. Teachers were so impressed, like, "Wow, he made a movie! You know, it's like it's this cool David Attenborough thing." It's like, no, that's just me being nerdy, but it really worked. And I guess I should have noticed that or understood that that was where I was heading, because when my mom bought her first camera, which was a really shitty camera with no focusing or anything. I stole it and I ran out, and I was just thinking about this the other day. The first thing that we shot was like recreating scenes from World War II, sticks for guns and my grandfather's old gas mask and helmet, just running around in the backyard. And that gave me some interest in the whole video shooting, editing thing. So all through school, I would just use any time I could to create my own videos. And then after high school, I was supposed to go on studying something, but my friend called me, and he had gotten work at DICE before me, and he called me this one day and said, "Well, we need to make a trailer real quick." Right? So I came in, worked 21 hours straight, and had this little trailer. I thought I was done, and then a couple of weeks later, Patrick Söderlund, who's the big boss now, he called me and said, want to come back? We're working on this little game called Battlefield 1942. We think it will be cool. So I got to see it, and they're like, yeah, this will probably be pretty cool. What was the question?
No, that answered it. I was just wondering which one you started on. And so you've been doing it for all those. Was there one of the Battlefield games that you like working with more than the other for any particular reason? I mean, obviously technology got better. We talked about this at somewhat length the last podcast we did with you about how the technology of recording and editing and YouTube and all that stuff has become so much easier since 1942. But was one of those, for some other reason other than it being easy, more of a favorite of yours to work on?
I keep coming back to 2142. It was a favorite because I love sci-fi, that sci-fi setting, and I just had a lot of fun having QA guys flown over from the UK, and we would sit in a closed-off room and just make these scenes. And it's kind of a kindergarten because their attention span is that of a gnat, and they just go crazy and blow up stuff all the time, and team kill and teabag people in the middle of a shot. But it was still kind of fun. It was a new way to work. Before that, I'd done a lot of just using devs for actors, and devs are even actually worse because they have a game to create, and they don't have the time to sit and have me yell at them. So that would actually be harder to work with. So getting QA guys, and then I mentioned this the last time that the hardest thing I've ever did was that 360-degree trailer that we did for E3 when we were showing off 2142 for the first time. And how do you film something in 360 degrees? It's just impossible not to get these people teabagging behind you. The camera's poised that way, and then everyone else is just jumping around being ridiculous. But yeah, I'd have to say 2142. It was a lot of love, and I loved that battle recorder, of course. So it had good features.
And what? Aside from Battlefield, obviously you spend some time. What else do you play? Like you play on the PC mostly, any other consoles? Just on sort of on the fun, non-business side of things, I guess.
Yeah, you'd expect me to play a lot of Battlefield, but actually I get kind of tired of it. Play testing it for years, so I just play that casually. But I have most of the consoles, and I have different games I love. Different consoles, but on PC I play mostly StarCraft 2. Today I downloaded the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition just to get back into those good old days of RPGs where role-playing games were awesome. I play XCOM, so going from the original XCOM UFO defense to this new version, and I think that's pretty cool. So I play that a lot. Uncharted, I love that series. Anytime you have the voice acting, the characters is just so well written, and basically all BioWare games. Just those guys are nuts. They're awesome. I
Yeah.
love that storytelling style that they have. So Mass Effect and sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good games out, especially this time of the year. It's hard to almost find the time. All these big AAA releases are coming out. So.
I always save the Mass Effect games for winter. I don't know why, because it just feels like cold space. And when you're in Sweden and it's super dark and it's cold and everyone's went to bed, and then I'm playing Mass Effect, running around on planets, and just like, feels cool.
Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
How was the StarCraft tournament that you went to?
Sorry?
Didn't you go to a StarCraft tournament while you were on sabbatical?
Oh, I didn't play, no. But I went
but
to...
you were there viewing it. How was it?
Yeah. We had the European finals in StarCraft 2 in our big globe arena. It was pretty cool. I love the fact that, Swedish television starts, has these things on TV, and you turn on the TV and you're like, that's StarCraft. It's usually just Swedish crime dramas, and then StarCraft 2. That's cool. But yeah, that was super cool to see, and then I'd love to see more of that with Battlefield and esports. I love it. So cool.
It seems like esports is a big thing over in Europe, and I wish we had that more over here in the North America area. But do you feel like in the coming years, with new iterations of Battlefield 4, and whatever else is in the future, do you feel like esports and TV channels are going to start broadcasting that more? What do you feel like the future is for that?
Yeah, I definitely feel that that's the way to go, and there's some exciting stuff happening, but still have a ways to go. We don't have the numbers of StarCraft or anything like that, but I think it could be pretty huge. Love to do that.
Cool.
There's a couple of questions from the chat as far as YouTube videos. Do you watch a lot of those? One in particular was pointed out, those Robert Stoneman videos.
Yeah.
There's we talked about it before. There's a lot of great work that gets put on YouTube now. Is that A, do you watch those? B, do you think that that's also a way for people to get into the kind of business that you're into?
Yeah, totally. So my colleague Noken, Marcus Johansson, that's the way he actually got into DICE and making trailers, because he would sit with his buddies and do these funny, ridiculously crazy stunt videos and mine, and just work off of Battlefield 2, and then later 2142, their little remake of Lost called Frost. It was hilarious. And then he started chatting with people at DICE, and it took a while, but then one day he was standing in my doorway, and they're like, "This is Marcus Johansson," and I was like, "Yay, good for you." And then he said, "It's Noken." I was like, "Noken, you kidding me? Get here!" He's awesome. So, and then he couldn't leave, so he did an internship with us for 6 months or a year or something like that, and got a PlayStation 3 and a job at the end of it. So that's
nice.
pretty cool. But yeah,
Not a bad deal.
no. So we constantly sit and actually send each other videos and then just run around looking at all the videos that are out there. And it's I get sent videos on Twitter and email, and there's a lot of really cool stuff there. There's some stuff you're like, how did they do that? And yeah, Rob Stoneman won. That was cool. That was really cool. So I started talking to him after I saw that one. Usually, as soon as I see something that really makes me pumped up, so I try to contact these people and just have them talk about this. I was like, who are you, and why don't you come here one day? But it's super cool.
Yeah, the Snoken videos, the Frostiers is funny. I actually found one of the clips. I think in one of the videos, they made a phone call and they accidentally called me. I remember recording a little audio clip for that episode to take. So a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Totally off topic and random question that someone wanted to know what your longest sniper shot in Battlefield 3 is. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I don't know why you would know that. Want to know that because I suck at sniper. Well, at least in BF3. So I don't. Maybe 2 or 3 meters, something like that.
2 or 3 meters.
Something like that.
Do you have a favorite of the DLCs that have come out so far? Do you prefer one more than the others?
Well, they're so different, but Back to Karkan, of course, for me was coming back to my old favorite maps in BF2. So I love that one. But Armor Kill, of course, was awesome because getting back to those huge maps and reliving, running for a long time to get a vehicle and then getting someone spawning in and taking the vehicle in front of you and running after that vehicle. It's good times. But I actually love those big maps. It's more Battlefield for me. But Aftermath's really cool. But I'm having a lot of fun in Endgame actually. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Oh, nice little teaser.
Yeah.
There's been some live action TV spots for games, like Call of Duty, I guess, most popularly recently on TV. Do you ever see Battlefield doing anything like that, or what do you think about those having the actual live action teasers? I guess.
Well, as soon as like Halo has these really cool high value production trailers that I was like sitting there like, wow, would love to have that kind of money and do those things. But usually, I don't think that doing live action trailers for a game especially if you're running something on Frostbite and it looks so darn good. Yeah. Why you would want to mix that or show real live action instead of that? And we did a TV spot for that way. There was like half of it was live action, and then it cut into certain shots that were done in Frostbite. And I usually just think that doing that way, it actually detracts from the quality of the game because real life will always be the most high def experience that you can have, and it will always look the best. So a game, just looking at a game, it can look photorealistic, but then compared to real life, it will never look photorealistic. At least not now. I mean, future, sure. So I mean, it's cool, but I don't see us really going that route. But never say never.
When they had like the one trailer with the Freddie Wong and his buddies when they did the C4 skid loader, things like that.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's fun. I mean, if you can do that with humor, not being super serious, like one man, one desire. It's more like just Freddie Wong being crazy and being himself. That's fun.
Yeah.
But the other things, no, it doesn't have to be too serious.
Have you heard of the Bad Company TV series that's supposedly being made by Fox?
Yeah, I saw a little. Someone tweeted me that when I was on vacation. I was like, wait, I did not get that memo. And coming back to DICE, no one else had either. So, but apparently something's happening. No one knows what. Hopefully it's good because I love the Bad Company characters. Just they're hilarious, and I love that we had these strong, cool characters instead of just mindless, macho men.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we actually haven't talked about. Bad Company. How much involvement did you have with those trailers?
All of it, basically.
All of them? Okay.
Yeah, all of them, I would say. Yeah, that was it. Sorry.
What was it like working with Bad Company? It was Bad Company as a game was definitely a different type of entity. It definitely had a more funnier side to the Battlefield. It was all the ha-has and the jokes and whatnot. So trying to highlight those points of the game, that must have been a lot different than coming from 2142 and 1942 Vietnam.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. It was a change of pace. That all of a sudden we can have humor and it fits with the game. That was hilarious. I mean, one of the trailers starts off with these guys just driving past in like this golf car on a golf track, and then a tank is driving behind them chasing them. You'd never be able to do that now, but back then it was like, this is cool. This is fun, and we had a lot of fun playing that. But also difficult because it was on console, so it's also harder than on PC to create these trailers. You're limited in a way, and then you have to control everything with a controller, and it's not as fluid. But we did some pretty good stuff on that too.
Cool.
So we know that Battlefield 4 is going to come down the pipe eventually. Are you excited for that? Also, I'm supposed to ask if Battlefield Bad Company 3 is going to be made soon. I doubt that you can comment on that. But knowing that you enjoyed Bad Company 1 and 2, would you like to see a Bad Company 3?
I would love to see a Bad Company 3. Of course, those guys are awesome. So yeah, definitely. And yeah, Battlefield 4. Of course, I'm excited. That's it's the next step, and I have a chance here to get some new cool tools to create even better trailers. So yeah, I'm not saying no to that.
Cool.
Did you ever think, Grizzle wants to know what you think of having a BF2142 or 1942 with a Frostbite engine? Like if that were a possibility to redo those in Frostbite.
Yeah, it's probably a possibility. I can't say anything about us actually doing that, but I would say that walking the hallways of DICE, there's not a single person I think that wasn't a fan of 2142. I mean, who cannot like walking around in a big mech and shooting multiple missiles? And the Titan mode. I mean, that's so cool. So I think everyone would love to do that, but it's a question, how can we do that? It's financially viable, etc. So.
I'm still waiting for my Macross mod.
Oh, yeah. Dude, tell me about it. You should see in front of me. I have all my Macross action figures.
Yeah, I like toys. That one picture you tweeted me. The one that you got from China. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, pretty cool. And that definitely could work. I think maybe.
Well, there's probably not much that couldn't be done in Frostbite. It's a pretty good engine. Is it hard to work with on? Well, I mean, you're not right in the depth of developing it, but one of the reasons, people always have cried out for mod tools, give us mod tools and stuff, and I think the explanation's been Frostbite 2 is such a complicated beast that it's not just here, download that and go for it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're looking back at the refraction engine for BF2 2142, and comparing that to Frostbite, I mean, the leap is just crazy. So there's so much potential that hasn't even been tapped in there. I think it's tough to work in sometimes, but I mean the results are just stunning. And we're the video team, we're doing that, using that more and more. So for us, it's just a cool adventure.
Are the trailers rendered on a single computer, or is there like a server farm that distributes so that somebody wants to know?
Okay, so I guess I can talk about how that works. So we have when we have the QA guys connect to a server, one of us is doing the server and doing the recording, the battle recordings there. There's no first-person recording in the battle recorder, nothing fancy like that. So we have 3 computers, 3 capture machines that are playing, just joining that server and playing. So we're recording that. We're playing on PC, and then we have that connected to Mac Pros, and in those we have a dedicated capture card, so that can do the 1080p 60 frames per second. Full res. You can't really get that on the machine rapsing at the same time. And then so we get the 3 streams we have. So if we join a playtest that's 1 hour long, we will have 3 hours of footage to go through from those 3 computers, plus any battle recordings that are in there, and that takes a while to sift through. But we get that down to 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something, and then we start actually editing from that. It's just the file size. The Aftermath trailer, I think Nuke had said it was 700 gigs or something, or 800 gigs. So he was trimming that, and we trimmed it down to like 30 gigs. So that's a lot of space, and our drives are constantly getting full. So yeah, that's just a hassle, and usually happens right when we're doing a new recording and we're sitting there and we yell, "Go to the QA guys upstairs," and your hard drive fills up, and you're like, "Crap!" and you have to go and delete stuff real quickly. But huge size.
All right.
Somebody-
Go ahead, Tim.
Somebody, A Cookie wants to know, and you kind of answered this now, but or in your last answer, but how does the entire video making process go from start to finish, from drawing board to rendered out file that you put out on the internet? You know, what are the steps? And I think we've talked about it before.
I'll summarize then. That's first off, we play test daily if we can, getting ideas. We sit down over coffee. We play ping pong every day, and we talk about stuff we've done. And we try to get those ideas. We have whiteboards that we draw really silly pictures on. That should, this is maybe scene one, and maybe that happens. The last armored kill, one of the armored kill trailers, that the first frame was a flower, and the last frame was a flower, and there was stuff in between that moved around. But those 2 points that was the whole script, and then we just filled that stuff. But then we go on to recording with QA or joining playtests. And QA is sitting upstairs from us, so we don't really have any good connection with those guys. We're actually talking, we used to at least talk, have one upstairs on Skype, so we could yell to that guy, do this and do that, and that person will yell that to the rest of the team, and they're like, what's going on? So that's a hassle. But now we've gone back to using just the chat, in-game chat, and we're like, okay, everyone position around A, and we'll do that scene where the chopper does that. Remember? They're like, no. Okay, let's go. and that will always produce the best results, because it's you say it's scripted, but I mean, no one knows what they're actually doing. They're like,
right.
They're getting so much better at it. They have the fire for effect. Try not to kill us all the time, because nothing exciting comes from the three cameramen just dying the first thing that happens. But we usually do anyways. There are some people that love to kill us, knife us, and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's
and
been
of course,
a few scenes of you guys getting knifed in trailers, right?
Yeah. So we trimmed that down. As I said, a lot of stuff to go through. We edit in Adobe Premiere, and then we send that off to After Effects. So do post-production, like fixing the pink stones and adding some extra, flashes and distortions and all that cool stuff. The tracking and the text, and maybe that cool line that we had in Armored Kill. And then we have audio guys work on getting the audio really cool. And we at the same time the first thing that we do is actually cut down the music and find some kind of good working rough cut of that, so we can fill up our timeline. And then we have an external
music come
that helps
from?
out. So this is the original composers for BF3. So we have one of the sound designers, Ben Minto. He's constantly in contact with the original composers, Johan Skugge, and they create these specifically written tracks for us. They give us rough cuts, and really we feed back on those, and we get back a finished cool piece. So there's usually 2 for every expansion pack, and they're made so that we can always cut different parts and use them differently in different trailers. Yeah, and that's when you get that post audio on it, and we ship it. Easy as pie.
Yeah. Sure. Very technical, complicated pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can comment on this, but somebody would like to know that we know that you can have that battle recording. You mentioned that's pretty buggy or complicated to use. How rough to work with is it for you guys?
Well, for us that actually learned to use it, we work around it. So, but it would be lovely to just have, we have FrostEd, the Frostbite engine. That's awesome. We can just, if we could just get our recordings in there and add our extra layers of stuff, but we can't, not today. So it's it's a bit of a hassle, but we work around that.
And then Corey wants to know who the best DICE employee is in the playtest. Who's always on top? He thinks it's Gustav, but who's the best BF3 player at DICE?
Oh, Gustav Halling. No, not Gustav. No. It depends. It depends. I think Nukin is pretty good. We always try to we're usually top 3 in the playtest, but maybe it's because people still think that they can't shoot us or something from the recordings. I think there's a couple of top ones there, but a lot of QA guys that play the game every day, so they're pretty badass. But yeah, Halling is pretty good. I don't want to give it too much credit.
I have a question. Where did the inspiration for the orange kind of like streamer lines for all the different videos? We didn't see it really in Aftermath, but in Close Quarters and Armor Kill. Where did the inspiration come from?
Those are so cool, by the way.
They are really neat.
Yeah, that was something that when we saw it the first time in the BF3 key art. The first time we saw it, I was like, yeah, this is cool. Maybe we can animate that. We didn't really have time to play around with it. But for Close Quarters and actually going, now we've left Battlefield 3, we're going into expansion packs. We wanted to get a bit of a different feeling for those, and we just started. We had an intern that came in, and he was playing around with that, I think, and he's like, oh, maybe we could do something like this. I was like, yeah, that's tried to do that for a while. Let's do it. So we put him on top to actually recreate that in After Effects with a particle system. And then I was like, this looks pretty good. So we could sell that to the marketing guys. They're like, yeah, we love it. So we just put that in there. It's a bit of a hassle because we have to manually track the camera. You have your camera move, but you can't really export that camera information. So you have to 3D tracking on it and recreate that camera move in After Effects and then add the post line there. So it's like, it's a bit of work. I think it looks pretty cool. And for Aftermath, it got cut because of time, basically.
Right.
Right. As I wasn't there, there was no third person to actually work on that. So I was like, just keep it. So maybe it will come back in the next one.
Cool.
What do you do? Simple question from someone in the chat. How much do you love your job, and what do you do when you're not editing or gaming? What else do you like to do?
Is there anything else? I love my job. It's 97 Metacritic, I think. There's some things that
job
I like
is on Metacritic?
It should be. No, but it's an awesome job. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a dream job, actually, for someone doing video editing for all of his life. So basically, it's a great job. There's parts of it that I don't like, but that's getting better every year. When I started, there was few people. There was just me, and a lot of work to do, which means overtime, stress. But we're getting older, more mature. People in the studio, basically everyone has kids now, and people actually going home and not working. So you tend to go home as well and not just spend all your life in the office. Though it's a great office, they built it that way. We have our pool table, we have a gym, play ping pong, stuff like that.
It does look like a really cool place to work. Just the office.
Yeah, it's. And other stuff than gaming, and well, I play badminton. And I do a lot of. I edit my personal stuff. I shoot around a lot with DSLRs. I love to do time lapses, just photography, traveling, and I have. I guess so.
Cool.
Seems like you like to hang out with your dog too. You have a beautiful German Shepherd.
That's my parents' dog, but yes.
Okay.
She's pretty great. Right now she has this thing on her head because she got something in her eye. She looks ridiculous with this,
big cone.
It's like a satellite dish on her head. She's pretty hilarious. But I'm a cat person at heart. Actually, I grew up with cats. My last cat she passed away 5 years ago, but she was over 17 years old.
Wow.
Might get a new cat now.
There seems to be a lot of cat stuff on not just the internet in general. I've seen Daniel post pictures of his cats and stuff. So is Dice a cat or a dog company? Would you say?
I think it's a cat company actually. Even though the big boss always had dogs and I was walking around in the halls, but I think there's so much cat stuff going around, so I think it's cats.
Yeah. Again, don't know how much of this you can say, but you're already working on stuff for Endgame and future DLCs. Those premium videos that premium members get, are you involved in those as well, and any hints as to what may be coming in the future for those?
Oh, well, involved in the way that I'm part of creating B-roll for those playing around, but it's Chris Bennison is usually heading up those and editing those. I don't think I can say anything about what's coming. No.
What about dinosaurs?
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. No one's gonna.
I think also I could mention that the other stuff that we do, except we have the trailer work, but also that between trailers, but people just think that we can churn out trailers all day, and that's it, But we have a lot of stuff that we do basically at the start of a game getting developed. One of the first videos that gets done is something called a rip-o-matic. Basically, we rip shots off of YouTube or documentaries or DVDs, whatever works, and then we put those into a trailer for the game. So if it's set in urban areas, okay, so we try to find fighting, tanks in New York. There's maybe not that many videos that has that, but scrunch something up, and that's one of the first things that we do. And also do mood setter stuff, proof of concept, showing off levels just like from drawings, and lots of stuff for presentations, lots of stuff to sell the game internally at EA. There's a lot of that stuff.
I got a Twitter question from Addison. What is your personal attitude towards YouTubers? Does it harm the business? Does it strengthen the community? And if you didn't work for DICE, would you do BF3 videos on YouTube yourself?
I would definitely do that. Yes, totally. I personally, I love the fact that there's so many people that are so into the games and they see that, and there's a lot of you see that there's a director in them, and they want to work with real people maybe, but you have the digital actors instead, and that's the way to you start off like that. There's a lot of cool talent. There's a lot of shit as well, but mostly the talent that you can see pretty quickly if someone's really cool. And I think that's that's free advertising for us, because they show our games and we get to see their awesome short films. It's a win-win, I think.
Does it annoy you seeing the quote unquote shit that's on YouTube? Does it frustrate you with knowing that you put so much work into making these videos, and then you see things that are almost hurt the game by people who do these trolling videos and whatnot? Does that frustrate you at all?
I don't get frustrated, but no, I don't care. I think, but I laugh a lot at those. They're hilarious in their own way.
Phoenix wants to know if there's any vacancies at DICE for her to apply at.
Well, you can check out dice.se. There's always stuff posted there for new positions and open positions. There's nothing at the video department yet. Maybe.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Last time we had you on, you said you had a bunch of cool anecdotes or stories. Somebody in the chat asked, "What's the coolest moment that you've experienced in your job, and also maybe the worst moment?" I don't know if you want to go into that, but if you had to pick one experience.
Oh, that's wow. There's a lot of those. Let's see. Well, you've all seen Casino Royale, the first new Bond film. There's a guy in the beginning, that parkour character that's running around, and that's Sebastian Foucan, the creator of free running parkour. So Bond is chasing him up, these rooftops and construction cranes and stuff like that. And he actually came to visit Dice, and I thought, this Hollywood guy, he looked pretty badass in the movie, like scars, and he was this guy that just looks pretty cool. And he came by. It was for Mirror's Edge, and he was invited in just to look at the game and maybe do some fun video with us. So I got this email like saying, "Oh, Sebastian Foucan is coming tomorrow." So who's that? Yeah, you remember the guy in Bond? I was like, "Oh, he's coming? Ooh. So grab your camera and we're going to do some stuff with him." I was like, "Okay." So he came, and this tiny French guy comes in. He's like, most lovable person I've ever met. You just wanted to hug him straight away. He's so nice. He's like, "Oh, you have a rooftop? We can go up. I can jump." Okay, let's do that. So we went up on the Dice rooftop, and we had a full day of just running around shooting him, doing stunts, not super epic stunts, but he doesn't want to die in Sweden. But that was pretty cool. It's like, this guy has been in Hollywood. Here I am filming him, running around in the office. That's a pretty good one. And he did this funny stunt. There's just very, very close to us. The Dice office is very high up, so there's this a stone wall, and then there's like a 100 meter drop or something like that. If you fall down, you die. And he, of course, when we went to lunch, was walking on top of that wall while we were going behind it, and we're like, "Are you crazy?" And the producers are like, "Oh my god, please don't die, please don't die." He's walking there, eating an apple, and then a couple of Swedish just girls walk towards him, and they look at him like, "Is he crazy?" He looks at them, and he just jumps off the wall. They scream like, "Ah, what's going on?" And we run up and like, "What's going on?" And he found this little ledge on the other side of that wall, just a little
Oh my god!
Thing. And he jumped down on that. And there's certain death right outside of that little thing. And he's standing there smiling like, "Hi." And we're like, "Oh god, this guy is hilarious." I think that's pretty top 10. Worst, I don't know. Working 36 hours, 18 hours and 36 hours straight.
Oh.
That's the worst. Straight after that, I went to the movies, and I thought I would fall asleep and die or something, but I was like hyper. I was just running around like, I couldn't sit still. That was the worst. I went home to my mom and I cried in her arms, and she made me soup, and she put on the sofa and let me sleep for a week. That was the worst. Yeah, I don't recommend that.
How much coffee did you drink?
God, much
Gallons?
coffee did I? Yeah. Yeah, lots of coffee.
That's funny.
Another question from the chat. Do you think there's ever going to be female soldier player models in Battlefield in the future?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, it works. I think it's in the past. It's just been a question of, you have a female soldier. Female moves a different way. She has a different build, a different skeleton, if you will. So I think that it's been a technical limitation before that. You don't want to have double the skeletons, double the animations. You just have a male soldier and that's it. But I think there's nothing stopping it. Now Frostbite is so cool, so why not?
And somebody else asked, you mentioned movies a little bit just a second ago. Since you're so familiar with doing trailers, when you watch trailers for movies, do you ever feel like, "Oh, I wish they would have done that different," or "I would have done that differently," or does that impact your your trailer viewing experience?
So I used to watch trailers all the time, but I would say today I never watch trailers, and that's because they really spoil it for me, because I have this my memory's been, I mean, working with this stuff, my memory's been trained to remember stuff in video clips. Some people have photographic memories, they have stills. I have little clips. It's like a big YouTube in my head. And watching a trailer and seeing a particular scene will make me remember that. And when I'm watching the movie, and I was like, I remember that car exploding. There was a car exploding, and then there's that 1 minute left on the movie, and the main character walks towards a car, and you're like, oh, he's gonna die. Oh, no. And then he blows up, and I was so disappointed. It's like, oh no, I just wanted to get, otherwise you wouldn't know that. He would just oof, and you're like, oh my god. So it kind of kills the suspense for me. So I try to, as soon as actually start watching a trailer, and then I instantly, like in 4 seconds time, I see that I want to watch this video, this movie. I will close my eyes and do this and like la 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 la. That's what I do. You can ask friends, and they're like, "What? Have you seen this latest trailer?" Oh no, you don't watch trailers. Why not? Suck. You can talk about this stuff. Well, sorry, it's occupational hazard, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Do you ever, Battlefield 3 and a lot of the other games have a lot of actors now from movies that go into games to either do voice acting. There's a few visual, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess there's actual actors game characters being created based off actual actors, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Do you ever get to meet those people? Do you ever get to be involved in that? Or what do you think of that whole trend of, recognizing these characters from shows? Like, I'm talking in particular about one of the new Aftermath skins is, I forgot the actor's name, but he plays David Estes on Homeland.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the actor's name is, but it's kind of cool that all of a sudden you recognize faces from TV or movies that are showing up in your games.
I would say that for 1942, there was all the skins there. All the characters were just, devs. Oh, he looks German. Let's make him a German soldier. He looks French. Let's do him a French soldier. I mean, that was back in the day. Now, I think if it's a very good actor and he can add some more, because you have that, the technology of actually making the character, the skins has come before actually using quality actors for the parts. There are a lot of games I think are just so bad, and you feel like it actually makes it a kind of a B movie feel to it, and I don't like that. But I mean, if you find these cool actors that are really good at their job, why not? I think that just adds to it. That's quality and storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Any other cool stories you want to share from playtests or video making or top secret things that will get you fired?
Things. No, nothing top secret. Can't talk about that. I don't know. I guess there's so much weirdness in there. I can't really recall anything right now. But I think every possible weird thing that's ever not supposed to happen has happened. Every conceivable bug, every conceivable, don't do this, well, that happens. So it's just hilarious, people, all of a sudden characters freak out, look like dinosaurs or monsters, and you're like, what's going on here? And then we were doing a shoot for Medal of Honor, the first Medal of Honor, and then we were doing a multiplayer trailer, and then all of a sudden the characters would lose their heads. So if you looked at a certain way, just the heads. So there were like these guys running around without heads, and that looks kind of cool. So let's shoot that. So we did some shots with that. Just that. This one hilarious thing was there was this puddle on the ground, and there was a bug that if you stepped on it, you fell below the ground. And Nuken did this funny little video. He was filming this puddle, and he had some scary music, and it's a text coming up like, "It came from the puddle." This guy slowly comes up like, it's stuff like that. There's tons of that weird stuff. Doing crazy races with tuk-tuks, or this physics bug that we have on Vietnam expansion to BC2, where as soon as you shot someone, they would just go ping flying. So we did a little short film that we sent around the office of these guys just flying everywhere. As soon as you like looked at them, they're like boing, flew off. There's tons of that stuff.
I really think that maybe after Battlefield 3, it's no longer being marketed as a new game. Like say we're a year into Battlefield 4 or something like that. I think you guys really need to really do some of those blooper things. Maybe at that point it will be a little easier to get it out. Probably not.
Maybe.
Roland, somebody wants to ask about your headsets. Are those your
Yes.
Astro A50s?
Astro A50s, yes. Had them for what, a week, 2 weeks?
Yeah. Do you like them?
I love them. They're really good. That little button that makes it surround, it's just like, very nice. So I just wanted to have those to play, get that feeling of space once again. Mass Effect, snow, cold, surround. Yeah.
How's the wireless? Ola and I have the Logitech G35s, and they're wired in. What's it like to go into the kitchen and still be able to listen?
Epic. Yeah, especially when I'm watching my anime series and they speak Japanese and I don't know Japanese, and then I go into the kitchen to get a sandwich, and then I realize that, hey, I can still hear them, but it doesn't make any sense. So I was like, oh shit, I have to run back again. But I mean, it's a nice feature, but it doesn't add that much.
Somebody wanted to know how you came up with your nickname, Roly the Poly. I mean, I think we already know, but.
Well, funny story, I think. Well, so Roland is always shortened Rolle in Swedish, and Polle is like a slang for a horse, a stallion or something. So just people said Rolle, and they started saying Rolle Polle just to tease me. So Rolle Polle in Swedish. And then I was like, how do I get that into English? Like Rolly the Stallion, that sounds like a porn name or something. No, I'm going to try Roly Poly, and that was how I played it the first time. I was like, Roly Poly. And then I had to change my nickname for some reason. And Chris Bennison had Benny the Buff. So I was like, I can use the same thing, Roly the Poly. And I guess it has a connection as well that I have Polish blood, so Poly could be a reference to the Polish side. Roly the Poly, yeah.
I think Roland the Stallion's a good one too. I have this porn visual in my head and I can't get it out. Thank you.
Is it ever difficult for you not to tweet out things that you shouldn't be saying? Apparently, some people in chat were saying that it would be really difficult for them to do that. Is that something you learn over time?
Yeah, very difficult. I mean, when I joined Twitter the first time, it's like I didn't really understand that if I was talking to someone, mentioning someone, that anyone could read that. I had no idea. I was like, oh yeah, hi, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this TV commercial for BF3. And then people started like, hey, are you supposed to talk about that? Or I was like, what? Oh, you heard that? Or oh shit. So yeah, I was pretty. But I learned to do that, I guess. But sometimes you have to don't really think, and then you have to delete a tweet and like, oops, sorry about that. Accidents happen.
Yeah, I think that in this world, you always hear about it, especially with sports, where football athletes or whatever, they'll tweet something and then they get fined and get in trouble and stuff.
Yeah.
What's it like in that case working for EA? I mean, EA is such a huge company. Is there a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, things that you have to follow?
Well, so I mean, DICE has kept its own identity after becoming a part of EA. So I think we have our own rules and regulations. But yes, of course, EA is strict, and you have to be. There's so many people, and there's so much stuff that can harm the company. Mm-hmm. It's like stock prices up and down just because someone mentioned something at some meeting somewhere. So you have to be careful, of course. But I think that's not weird for me. I think it's normal, But I think DICE is as we're Swedes, we're more relaxed, and we don't have the same maybe corporate like hierarchy. We're more like friends sitting and chatting about stuff, and it's more casual in a way. A lot of people yelling orders, more like suggestions. That's cool. I like that, but maybe you could do it like this instead of saying that's wrong. You suck. You could.
I got one other thing that I wanted to ask on behalf of the chat is that you talked earlier about how you got into your current position. Nowadays, there's a lot of people who are going to school for animation courses and all those things. What do you think is the best way for someone to get into a job like you? I mean, there's a limited number of positions out there, let's face it. What would you recommend?
First of all, a disclaimer, Rolly the Poly says stay in school. But having said that, I think that if you have a talent, if you're really good at drawing, instead of going, if you can show, if you come into DICE and you show that you're really good at drawing, that will always be better than have a paper that says that you're really good at drawing, but then you haven't drawn anything, you can't show anything, you just showed it to people at school. So I think we look at of course look at grades but mostly it's like recommendations, and it's like, oh, this guy is epic. He should really, if he got to work here, it would be really cool for us. So in my case, being self-taught by just running around, fooling around with cameras and editing in my spare time, and having people at DICE say like, you're good. You should work here. Oh, great. If I show them my grades, which were really crap, I wouldn't have gotten work there if they were looking just for that. So, and I have no formal education in anything resembling editing or shooting or post-production. I learned to use After Effects at work, actually during BF2. So I had never opened that program before, and someone at DICE back then, an animator, he'd used it for a bit, and he showed me like, this is sort of what you do. And then there's a lot of just sitting in tutorials, finding tutorials on YouTube. I watch tutorials every chance I get, just to find like, maybe you already know, like you don't have to dismiss a tutorial that says learn to draw in some program just because you already know, you think you know everything. Then you find these, oh, he used that shortcut. What, you can do that? That saves you, 4 hours of grunt work all of a sudden, I find these things every day watching these things. I think there's a lot of different paths, but as long as you can show people what you can do, I think you're pretty good, pretty set. Cool.
Well, I think that just about does it. I think the chat's now talking about, I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but hopefully we can have you back on maybe after Endgames come out, or just before that when there's been some more trailers out, and we'll talk about that and then press you about Battlefield 4 some more at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure, let's do that. Fine.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on. I know it's
thank you.
It's your spare time.
It's been a pleasure.
So
yeah, this is a lot of fun. I was nervous before, but now I'm on a roll, so it's all good.
There you go.
All right, and we will be back with another podcast probably within the week. And we'll be talking more about Aftermath.
Yeah.
We've got a chance to play it on a PC, and we'll give you our opinions on it then. Thank you, everybody who was participating in the chat, asking questions. That was great. And this will get posted on YouTube in a couple days, and it's, of course, also on iTunes. By the way, subscribe to us on youtube.com/Battlefield Podcast if you haven't yet. I just completed our special Battlefield Podcast look back video, but I haven't posted it yet. I'm waiting for a few more subscribers before I post that. So, and you can find us on iTunes if you search for Battlefield Podcast. All of our Twitter stuff was at the bottom here, at BF Podcast, at Chalk_1, at Darkness429, and Roland is at Rolly the Poly. Twitter is always a great way to keep up with what's happening. Anything else, Tim?
I think that's it. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks again, Roland.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.